go. All right, let's start this thing up on YouTube, shall we?
Oh, look, someone mentioned me in a tweet.
That'd be me. It's always me.
That was great.
Yes. All right, here we go.
Most action.
Everyone on our YouTube channel, what's going on? What? Oh, God, I just smacked my microphone. That's never any good. Hello, everybody. Again, son of a gun. New camera angle tonight because I hated the old one. And, sorry, I am just moisturizing my hands and arms here as we get ready for the show. Why? Because I was out in the forest today cutting out wood, cutting up some firewood. Yes. And I ended up, it dries out your skin. It really does. It dries out your skin. So you got to make sure you moisturize in order to make sure that your skin is healthy and happy and not cracking and not dry, because nobody likes dry skin. Anyways, make sure you moisturize. It's very important. It's just as important as wearing clean socks. You know, it really is. Welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. I'm the guy named Dave who sits here and chats away with all of you. Let's give a shout out to everybody who is here so far before we bring in our beautiful guest who freshly brushed her teeth just to come on this show. Varla Ventura. Tina Smith, you're looking stunning tonight. Brad Smith, you're looking stunning tonight. Space Cow, moo to you. Mere Person, always a pleasure to have you here. Sweet Tommy L is here, everyone. Hi, Devin. Hey, Long Island Bigfoot. The Ronald Penton, everyone. Yes, Jesse Shavico, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. Bee's Nest, always a pleasure to see you, my friend. We have Brett Lewis here, everyone. When Brett Lewis arrives, we can officially start the show. Roscoe, good to have you back. Always a pleasure. Nathan, how's your fist shaking after last night with Brandon Fugel? I love that show. He was awesome. Vintage Beard, always looking good, man. Denali Princess, you are the princess of Spaced Out Radio. We have officially declared you. Cat Chaser, always good to see you, my friend. Thank you. The Jim Christie is here, everyone. The Jim Christie. Steph Dickey, I hear you are looking amazing tonight. Good for you on that one. Rich Hilke, always a pleasure. Nucker, how you doing, buddy? Scotty Eisner's here, everyone. And I know we got Thurston Howell III. Yes, where's Lovey? Lovey. Anyways, welcome back, Thurston. Bizzle, how you doing? Where were you the last few nights? Too far gone from Earth. From Southern Ontario, we have parts unknown, weight unknown, too far gone from Earth here, everyone. Lou Fun, pleasure to see you here. Tammy, looking stunning tonight. New York Anthony, how you doing, brother? Good to see you. Dirty Filth, always a pleasure. And who else we got? The Desert Clam in Jeff Gear. Yes, the clam word is warming up. SJ, good to see you. Burrito, you make me hungry every time you come on in here. Northern UFOs, good to see you. The best damn social media person going in digital radio. Spookles the cat, everyone. Jen, your hair is looking fantastic tonight. Thank you for doing it up for us. We really appreciate that. Dark Hour, your hair and beard combination are just pure genius. Pure genius. Steam Train Mark from Australia, how's tomorrow looking? Please give us an update to let us know if we are alive or not in the future. Yes, we really need to know that. I'm caught up, Varla. I'm caught up.
Do we make it?
I don't know yet. I don't know. I'm waiting for Steam Train Mark to let us know about this. Damn it.
Fill us in.
I know. I got to change the camera angle still. Still way too high. All right, let's try that. See if that works. I either have it too high or too low. I think this one's going to work. I think that one's going to work. Grendel's here, everyone. All right. Beautiful Becky. Manitoba Becky. She's shining down from Brandon, Manitoba, home of the Wheat Kings. Wheat Kings, that's hockey. Western Hockey League.
Cool.
Good hockey there.
I love hockey.
the days of Ronnie Hextall in net for the Wheat Kings. Yes. Actually, that's a better camera angle right there. That one works for me. That one works. Okay, where the hell is my mouse? All right, go here.
Ask your cat.
Yeah, no, you're so sarcastic. You are so sarcastic. All right, I'm ready. All right. Oh, Varla, we are alive tomorrow. We are alive. Brian Huthmacher, welcome to Spaced Out Radio's chat room. Lady B, Brampton, Ontario. Right on. Welcome, home of the battalion. Yes, we got 30 seconds.
Before we have to behave.
Oh, yes. Bizzle, that is a high-quality excuse there. Good parenting, Bizzle. Tina Prad, you're looking stunning tonight. The gorgeous and talented Marie from SoCal. We love it when she's here. We got 10 seconds. Remember to give us a thumbs up. Give our Facebook page a like. Also, hit that subscribe button if you don't mind, if you haven't already. And to support this show, a great way to do it is to go to our website, click on the SOR Vault, get yourself some swag, and of course, join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month. Varla Ventura is here, everyone. You know it's a fun show when Varla's here. Here we go. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters, welcoming you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. It's one of those nights that I love doing this show. And coming off of last night's show where we had an amazing time with Brandon Fugel, the owner of the Skinwalker Ranch, tonight we're going to continue talking about legends, folklore, monsters around us. Are we surrounded by monsters? Hey, the person to talk to about this is one of the best researchers, one of the top authors in North America when it comes to these subjects. The lovely and talented Varla Ventura is back. Yes, her great book, Paranormal Parlor, Ghost Seances, and Tales of True Hauntings, is on Amazon, along with her other books, which is called Banshees, Werewolves, Vampires, and Other Creatures of the Night, The Book of the Bizarre, Among the Mermaids, Bizarre or Beyond Bizarre and Fairies, Pookas, and Changelings. She is talented. We love having her here, one of our most popular guests when we talk about these subjects. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I will bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Ooh, what happened to my voice there? Varla Ventura, always a pleasure to have you here, my friend. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm lovely. Thanks for having me back. It's so fun.
I love it when you're here.
Such a warm welcome.
Well, you know what? We should also let our audience know that you're actually going to be on next month as well to share a bunch of the spooky stories that you have covered over the years for warming up to Halloween.
Yeah. We're going to do a Halloween show or a Halloween pre-show, depending on the date TBD. But absolutely. We'll try and scare everyone listening and probably make them laugh in the process. No doubt.
Awesome. I'm always glad to have you here. And you know what? Coming off last night's show where we talked with Brandon Fugel, owner of Skinwalker Ranch, I have never wanted to travel anywhere more quickly than going to Skinwalker Ranch to see what is there and what is up. Monsters galore. I just love it. It's scary. And wouldn't you just love that opportunity as a researcher and a writer to go to some place like that just to see what is happening and what it feels like there with your own eyes?
Yes. And to be left alone, or mostly alone in a dimly lit part of the ranch, or the haunted room in the the overlook or and just be sort of left alone, just kind of to see what would happen. No interruptions. By left alone, I just mean, you could call 911, but mostly you're just there to see what happens. I think, I don't know, it's kind of interesting. Paranormal stuff and maybe less so with like monsters and cryptids, but I do feel like paranormal stuff, sometimes it just happens at the most inopportune, sort of like commonplace moments, frequently in the night, of course, but you can kind of see a pattern sometimes of not really having any say or control over when you might have these experiences. And at least for myself, I've often had them at the most mundane moments. Sometimes at night, but sometimes during the day. Usually when I'm free of distractions, there's not a lot of outside noise or chatter going on, and I'm concentrating on something, but I'm in a relatively quiet space. Those are the times when I've had paranormal encounters, unexplained experiences. It's not usually, for me, the times that I've had any kind of really profound experience, I've rarely been out hunting for it. So I think you can go to hot spots, absolutely. And I think we should go to hot spots. I think that's fun. But I do think that you have to kind of allow things to come to you. And that's why I have a bit of I don't know, there's just some of the paranormal shows and ghost hunting shows and things like that. And granted, I know they're there for days and things are edited together, but, it gives the audience the impression that ghosts will appear on demand or on command, which is a very old-fashioned way of looking at, the paranormal. Like, get over here, ghost. It's the same thing that is with like a Ouija board, trying to make instant contact. And sometimes that works, but overall, I think the most profound experiences kind of happen when you're not expecting them, and often to people who aren't really looking for them. And in terms of the paranormal or the supernatural, I don't know about like philosophy and daily life and getting through, life's challenges. I'm just talking specifically about the supernatural world.
I don't blame you. You know what? I have to tell you, I had something weird happen today. Twice. Today was my son's first day of grade 2. And
all right.
So right after
bless you.
Yes. Right after I took him to the bus stop, I walked back, and you know that whole thing that when people pass away, loved ones pass away, there's always this thing where they say they leave things. A lot of people find coins, like pennies or quarters. Yes. I never, ever believed in that. Ever. Thought it was horse hockey. All right. Thought it was just garbage. One of those things that people are just leaning on. When my nephew passed away in 2018, I started finding dimes. Today, walk into my son's room, and we've been redoing my son's room, and his piggy bank is not in his room right now because we're just getting everything reset up. We just finished painting the walls and everything like that, and so all of a sudden, right in the middle of his floor, there's a dime. I'm like, cool. All right. Well, what's the message today? So I go upon my day. I kind of took that because I went out to the forest to get firewood. So I kind of took that as a good thing, a good sign that I'm going to be safe out there today. And then this evening, we came back from dinner, and right beside my vehicle's tire, when I pulled into my driveway, is another dime.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. Now, I don't know what it means.
It's cool that it happened twice, because you could have dismissed it once, but the twice kind of really makes you say, wait, this is okay. I'm seeing a dime again. Well, if nothing else, it invokes the memory of someone that you loved, and it gives you a piece that that person may be looking out. I mean, it's a significant day, right? Looking out for your son, thinking about you, you're thinking about him. I have a friend. Hi, Terry, if you're listening. And she lost her son, Christopher, years ago to a motorcycle accident, and he leaves her marbles. And she swears that she'll be out walking and she'll think of him, or she'll say, hey, Christopher, can you leave me some marbles? And he will. She'll find these little blue marbles. It's just, she finds them all over the place in places where they don't belong. So yeah, I mean, that's very interesting that you saw those two dimes today.
I was pretty happy with that.
That's cool.
I was pretty happy with that. Absolutely.
It should be.
Absolutely. All right, let's get deep into it, because you come on here every couple of months, but we always have new listeners here. What turned you on to the weird and strange?
Well, I think probably the simple answer is my mother. I blame my mother. But yeah, I don't know. I grew up in an environment that was very so more unique than I realized. My mother is an artist and was always very interested in the occult and esoteric topics. So in fact, I just found this old book of baby names where she had written all of myself and all of our siblings' names down and our birth dates, and she had little birth charts for us all. So we all had our our astrological birth charts written in our baby books. So I think that was sort of the template. So I had this very sort of witchy, unique mom with a very unique upbringing. And I don't know if I've ever told you this, but both of my grandparents were actually deaf. And I think that gave this and my grandmother in particular was very psychic. And it was almost as if by losing one sense, she gained another. I mean, you could not, she knew when you were up to stuff. And so the environment that we spend a lot of time with those grandparents, and I dream about them frequently. They've been passed away for many, many years. But there's something about communicating when you communicate in an environment when no one's speaking and everybody's signing or writing or using kind of intuition to figure things out. My grandmother was deaf and my grandfather was deaf mute, so he couldn't speak. And yet he told us the story of coming over on a ship from Italy and seeing the Statue of Liberty when he was a little boy. So we remember that story very vividly. He sort of wrote it and signed it to us. So I think the ability to, and they used to do all kinds of paranormal little parlor games back in the 30s and 40s with all of their deaf friends. They would all sit around and put their hands on the table and try and make it levitate. And they would think of an object and try and, like among themselves, they would all put an object in their mind. They wouldn't say it. And then they would send one of the children into the other room to see if he could pick it out. So, my mother came into that environment, and I think that was just sort of superimposed upon all of us, but very interested in the occult at a young age, just sort of devouring whatever was on the bookshelf, not to mention older siblings with a penchant for Stephen King and punk rock. So all of those things kind of came together. We spent a lot of time in cemeteries and we didn't have a lot of money, so we entertained ourselves in the forest and in historic parks and things like that. So I think a lot of those things we were always looking for ghosts everywhere we went. I mean, my mom probably told me ghost stories before I probably heard ghost stories as bedtime stories, and don't think that she was trying to freak us out. I mean, she had a way of putting these things that made a lot of sense, and she would never set out to scare us. And yet, reading those early folk tales and fairy tales, those are a lot scarier than some of the horror flicks today. Stepping on a loaf of bread and sinking down into a bog. So anyway, long story short, I was raised by weirdos and continued to be a weirdo.
Nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that.
That's why we're here.
Exactly. And that's why we're talking cryptids and strange things with you every couple of months here on Spaced Out Radio. VarlaVentura.net is Varla's website. You can find all her books there or on Amazon. Varla, when it comes to monsters, there's so many different monsters and beings out there. I want to ask you right off the bat, as we're still warming up here, how many of these creatures do you really, really believe are out there? Not the mythical ones from, thousands of years ago, but I'm saying the creatures today that people are reporting. Are they really out there, or is it just figment of our childhood imagination coming forward?
All right. Are we too heavily influenced by the X-Files or something? I would say that I think that probably 80 to 90% of the monsters that we kind of have in our modern lexicon are out there. Now, do I believe all of the encounters that people have had with them? Not necessarily. Do I believe in the possibility of their existence? Absolutely. I know too much to say that I know everything and that I can prove anything definitively, but I know enough that I can say that we really don't know, and we don't have a full comprehension. We kind of only have this one sort of Western linear view of the world in most of our literature and just in our sort of just general cultural way of looking at things. We're expecting to catch everything on video. We want to see everything, like TV is evidence. But, if you think about it, like TV is fake, right? It's not actually happening. It's happening on a screen in front of you. So I think that there's a lot of fakery out there, but I am a supernaturalist at heart, and I very much, I'm Mulder. I want to believe. I want to believe in all of it. And I think, why not? And actually, when it comes to some of the older mythical things, I think we see evidence of how these things did exist. And we just need to kind of shift our view of how we register belief, I think. The Kraken, take the Kraken, for example. Are there giant squid that will pull you down deep into the sea? Actually, there are. And they were a lot bigger, hundreds of years ago when there was more room in the sea and less predators. So there are some things in those ancient legends that really ring true. And, we also kind of have to remember the way that people described things. And probably more than that, there's so much value in talking about them and people telling their stories, whether they're 100% provable or accurate. I don't even, who cares? Who cares if you can't show me the tuft of hair you pulled off the top of Bigfoot? I want to hear your story. I want to know what you experienced, and I want to talk about that mystery, that unknown, that thing that we're always seeking. I think that has as much value as, mounting a head on your wall.
Very true. Very true. But, damn it, we want bodies of these things. And even if we...
damn it, we want that head on the wall.
We want that head on the wall, I'm sure the owner of Papa John's wants to pop a Bigfoot just so he can, have it stuffed and put in his 40,000 square foot mansion. You know what I'm saying? I believe that's true. Yeah. I mean, he's already got elephants, lions, and giraffes and everything. Exactly.
Yeah, there's already gross, stump tables of elephant feet and horrible things like that.
Oh yeah. I'm not a fan. For the record, I am not a fan of trophy hunting. I believe in hunting for food, and I have a lot of friends who do, but trophy hunting needs to go away.
I couldn't agree more. But I think it would be fun to make a fake mounted Yeti head that you could put on your wall. I mean, that'd be a cute decoration, right? Pull it out in the winter.
Sure.
Arnhem style.
The only problem is where I live, that would if I put that outside, it would likely get shot. It would. Some hunter would take, try with a bow or something like that. I don't know. May happen.
Oh, no, I mean like interior decoration.
Oh, that would work. That would work too.
Like a fake one on the wall. This is so trendy. Those like foam mounted stuffed sweater giraffes or whatever.
But looking at the creatures, Varla, who, a lot of people say they encounter. Okay. Now, personally, I have no problem admitting I have had an encounter with a couple of Bigfoot. I have seen fairies flying through the trees. I have never seen a gnome move. I've never seen a goblin. I've never seen a Pooka or a changeling. I've never seen a puckwudgie or all of these weird, strange creatures. I've never seen trolls under the bridge, although I did see my mother-in-law around a corner one time, and that was scary enough.
Oh.
Right? I mean, it is
dirty.
It is. Well, that's why she's my ex-mother-in-law, right? So, I mean, it is, there is a lot of people having names for these little creatures. Okay. And, even something like the Thunderbird. All right. Which I do not believe in. I don't believe in that one. Do you think a lot of these creatures may have existed at some point, but maybe there is a flash in time or the time-space continuum where people are having these experiences?
I think what's probably, yes, possibly. You mean like some of the more older and legendary creatures, even take mermaids, for example.
Yes.
That would be something that would be very, very mythological, and that goes back, to the beginning of time, really. And are people actually still having those experiences? Or are they just somehow like ripping a hole in time and space? To me, I think the real issue here is that we are viewing time and space as if it's this long one thing that starts in, whatever, BC, and then continues on until the day we die, and then that's the end of it. But in many cultures, time is viewed very differently. Time is viewed overlapping. Time is viewed simultaneously. And this is why when you fall asleep on the fairy mound and you attend this marvelous party in the underworld and you come back out, years have passed when you thought it was just 2 nights. So there's a relationship there with a lot of these creatures and time. So I'm not sure that there's a rip in the space-time continuum so much as that we have a very narrow view of what time really is. I come to that conclusion time and time again. I really do, though, because the more I read about something like a mermaid or a banshee or some kind of like returning entity, maybe it haunts a specific family or something like the Thunderbird. I mean, a Thunderbird wouldn't just like show up here and there, but I think that all of these sort of creatures do have a place and they're doing their thing. And there are times when they can just sort of like poke through, I guess. And I just think different people can pick up on different things. And, we do have names. Some things we call leprechauns and some things we call Pookas, but those are just tiny little snippets of categories. There's different names all around the world. So I don't know if it's really just like a glitch or if it's just something that we are slowly evolving to have minds that are open enough to see things that we've been repressing for so long.
Very true. Varla, hold on right there because we're going to go to break at the bottom of the hour. One of our favorite monster folklorists, VarlaVentura.net, is Varla Ventura's website because we love calling her Varla Ventura around here on Spaced Out Radio. That break caught up with me. I didn't even realize.
I didn't either. I actually forgot when the breaks were because space-time continuum is totally messed up for me these days. So.
Oh yeah, I got scared out of the forest today.
Really?
Yeah, I did. So I was, I was knocking out a bunch of trees and, kind of doing my thing that I normally do to prepare for the winter, to bed on down and cut a bunch of firewood. Yeah. And I'm hauling my chainsaw and in one hand, and I've got some pieces of firewood in my other arm. And I'm walking on these real slippery rocks that are covered in moss. And what slithers in front of me? A 2.5-foot garter snake. I almost torched the forest right there. Almost torched the forest.
Garter snakes aren't poisonous.
Don't care. Hate fucking snakes. Fucking hate snakes.
Don't care.
Okay.
How do you feel about spiders?
You know what? I like spiders because, I really don't mind spiders. Okay.
Okay. We'll be friends still then.
Yeah. Like when we get into the big stuff, like the camel spiders in the deserts of Afghanistan. No, no.
Going to need a cup to take that one outside. Yeah. Not going to handle
they get like a foot long. I had a buddy of mine who was serving in Afghanistan, and he was like, dude, he's like, you have no idea what it's like to be living in one of the barracks there. And all of a sudden you see this foot long spider go crawling along the floor. So it's horrible.
You know what freaks me out more? Like desert scorpions. Like when you're like camping in the Joshua tree or something with your friends, and then someone's like, make sure you check your boots because there's these horrible little brown scorpions that go into your boots in the night, and then you jam your foot in there all tired in the morning, and they're in the toe of the boot hiding out, just waiting to like stab you.
Yeah, no.
That scares me more than spiders, but spiders, same thing.
I would torch my tent.
I saw a tarantula once in the Amazon rainforest. It was so big. It was bigger than my hand, probably bigger than two of my hands. And I got a picture of it. It was on a tree. It was just sort of, there, very hairy, hanging out on the tree. I got a picture of it, but I didn't have anything to like hold up for perspective. It's like a pair of glasses or something to show just how big it was. And no one there was brave enough to put their hand next to it for comparison.
Exactly.
It was definitely one of the biggest like insecty bug type things I've ever seen in my life. And it was super cool to look at.
Yeah, no.
Do I want to see that on the floor in my little cabana when I'm in, wake up in the night?
No.
I probably would be screaming at that point. Yeah.
Well, the funny part about it is I go out in the forest with my buddy Mike, okay? And Mike he's a pretty tough dude, okay? Like I'm sure this guy's wrestled bears before in the wild, and I'm just like,
you should get your firewood.
I'm like, there's a snake. He's, a little garden snake. I'm like, he goes, yeah, they're not poisonous. I said, I know that, but it's still a goddamn snake. And he goes, yeah, you keep that fucker away from me. I fucking hate snakes too. Right. And so it's like, no.
God.
No, I hate snakes.
Needed a woman to walk up and just pick it up and like throw it out of the way.
No, it slithered away. It slithered away, and
because that's probably what I would have done.
This is one of those situations where flamethrowers in Canada need to be legal. Okay. Because I would have toasted that entire thing.
You would have been punished by Mother Nature if you had done that.
Yeah, probably, but either way, we all
have our things.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a friend that is so afraid of spiders. I have this pair of earrings that has spiders on them. It's just like these sort of anatomical spider earrings. They're very cool. And a matching bracelet. And it's a really nice set. It was like a fancy set that was gifted to me from some fancy store in San Francisco. And I forgot that she didn't like spiders. And we went out one night and she just was like looking so uncomfortable. And finally I was like, what's happening? Can you take those earrings off? Like, I can't look at them anymore. So now, so I don't wear those when she's around.
All right. Hold on here because we're about to come back.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I won't wear my snake belt when we meet in Vegas.
Oh, that's fine. That works. Okay. It's not like Sharknado. God, I hate snakes. Here we go with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Still freaked out from seeing a little garter snake earlier today while out in the forest getting firewood, but I have survived. And that's the main thing. You know, that thing could have killed me, wrapped itself around my ankle, maybe a toe, cut off circulation. Next thing I know, I'm getting a toe amputated. Snakes are dangerous. Totally dangerous. Anyways, I know that they're not, garter snakes are not poisonous or anything like that, but either way, they're serpents. Serpents! I know, Varla. I know. Varla Ventura is our guest. Before we bring her on, I want to remind all of you that if you have missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Oh, I'm just laughing here. Varla.
Oh, dear.
Yes. Because there's a lot of people making fun of me in the chat rooms right now.
Oh, because it's called a garter snake. It's
I know.
named after a lady's garter.
I realize this. But either way,
okay, I understand.
They're not lacy,
Kind of.
frilly, and hold up stockings, okay? They just don't do that. They slither. They're serpents. This thing was 2.5 feet long. Okay, could have taken out thank goodness I was wearing steel-toed boots out there, because when you're using a chainsaw, you should always use steel-toed boots.
Flip-flops on, would have been
my foot. I would have had to have my foot amputated today. Okay, because it would have wrapped around the old pinky toe there, and thought it was a nice decent meal. No, not doing it.
So what happened? Did it quickly slither away?
Yeah,
Did you scream?
I screamed.
Over it?
I'm not gonna lie.
Did you?
I jumped back
leap over it.
No. I waited for it to get the heck out of the way. You know, I was at a red light and it had the green light at the intersection.
Right,
and, I was about to hit reverse. But it knew that I caught him sneaking up on my toes. And there you go. There you go. He knew.
And now, maybe that's why you needed the dimes for a little grounding and reassurance.
Oh.
That everything's going to be okay.
Talk to me about vampires, if you don't mind.
Oh, sure. I've had a lot of vampires of late, and a lot of vampires on my mind lately. Vampires are very interesting. I've maybe the reason I've been thinking about them so much. Think about vampires from time to time. And of course, I'm a fan of vampire literature. And I have a couple of friends who are vampires who are wonderful. A little needy, but wonderful. But there's something about the way that the icon of a vampire returns again and again. It's almost as if the idea of it being immortal has created this sort of immortal love affair with the vampire, and the way that people, even though, if anything else came into your, came into your chamber in the middle of the night, a snake or some kind of bizarre creature, something like incredibly hairy, a werewolf, anything, a puka, a changeling, anything that was sneaking into your room to kind of like carry you off and take you to some kind of underworld, you would probably resist. But consider the vampire. Many of us have such a romanticized view of the vampire that we don't actually mind that so much. It's like, well, kind of I'd love to hate it, So maybe the reason I've just been thinking about that a lot is because the idea of sort of the infectious element of the vampire and where that kind of plays a role in disease in our society. We're going deep, but this is what happens when you really start thinking about these things and there's no one to talk to. you just keep going. But just kind of thinking about the infection level, thinking about COVID and all these sort of how easily communicable it is and all of these kinds of things that are, the comparisons to old epidemics and things like that. They're just very, very prevalent in the news and have been for months and will be for months and, hopefully not years, but possibly years into the future. And just kind of thinking about what we are so fascinated with the vampire, not the cure, not the immortality, but the fact that it could happen to any one of us. And so it's both like a quickening of the heart because there's this very sort of intimate bite and sort of lusty element to it, but also there's this fear built in that it could happen to anyone. And I don't know, maybe that's why I've been thinking about vampires so much.
Well, you do have to wonder that, if vampires are truly, truly real, because if they were taking the blood from people these days, would they be locking themselves down just in case because of COVID?
So there are actually some vampire communities that are, still active today.
But they're not real vampires. They're make-believe vampires.
Well, that's not what they believe. I mean, yeah, they believe that they're sort of playing a role, but I think many vampires that I know identify it on a level that's a little more spiritual. And so that would be like telling a witch that she's not a witch because she doesn't wear a pointy hat. Honestly, even though she could do a spell or, I'm just saying I'm not a vampire, so I don't know the whole lifestyle that it entails. But nonetheless, I do think that, there's just something there's so many elements to it. I mean, have you heard much about, or I'm sure you've experienced many times, psychic vampires? And on the base level, it can just be a person that that just kind of leaves you feeling like really wiped out. It could be a very demanding person. And there are people who are demanding but don't leave you feeling wiped out. They might stress you out and they might ask a lot of you. Usually it's someone in a supervisorial position, right? But they're not necessarily vampires. They're just like trying to get a job done. And then there are people who they just need and they need and they need. And these are sort of the reckless psychic vampires. And I think that there's so much in the original legend of vampires that is kind of like misconstrued and has become this very specific type of Bela Lugosi Dracula vampire that we don't realize that this sort of psychic vampirism is part of the origins of vampires. And then there's all this kind of sort of mixed stories. And honestly, what we think of as, our most iconic vampire today, Dracula, that was a fictionalized amalgamation, someone playing with folklore and playing with legends and sort of mixing them together to create this incredibly fantastic story that still holds up today, in my opinion. In fact, I just found my old copy and decided that I'd start rereading it and see if I have any insights into Dracula in 2020, if it has, if it has any particular significant. Because I started listening to The Stand, Stephen King's The Stand, which is all about this disease that wipes out the population. I started listening to that on an audiobook walking around my shut down town. It was a little much, honestly. It's a little freaky. But I guess just going back to your original point, just wondering what would a vampire be doing today? Would they be in lockdown? Would they just kind of stay in, would they be able to survive? And I think if you look at it like a psychic vampire, they will find ways. It's still going to be the person that makes you get on the Zoom call every day so that they can ask things of you, or they're going to call you a bunch or text you constantly, or there's just all kinds of ways to manipulate your psyche that sometimes we just don't even realize until we're just wiped out at the end of the day. And we're not talking about normal, I'm tired, I worked really hard, and I have kids kind of wiped out, but something on a level that leaves you feeling very hollow with no hope or zest for life left.
Oh, yes. Yes. I understand where you're going with that. And I think we've all been around people like that. See, the psychic vampires, I totally believe in. I totally believe in them. And, psychic vampires they beat you up on a spiritual level and you don't even know. My only issue is I want to see some immortals. Have you ever talked to anybody who claims to be immortal?
Not blatantly. They have not blatantly made that statement. I think I've met a couple of people who think that they might be, and then we all were wondering what was going on with Dick Clark, right? So we're not really sure about that. But no, I don't. I've never met anyone who claims to be immortal. I don't know if that's really the end game for any of the living vampires. And I think that's why they actually identify themselves as living vampires, because they're not immortal. They're not, they're embracing the cultural icons and using that as a template, much in the way, someone might use, Wiccan practices or pagan practices to implement, witchcraft or something like that. So, but the whole blood thing is very interesting because I think there's many, many layers to why blood is associated with vampires. And one of them is again, it's partly related to Bram Stoker. And he sort of squished together these legends, right? Of Vlad the Impaler. We've probably heard of this, this ruler who was known to be particularly vicious. And one of the things that he would do is impale his enemies' heads on spikes around his castle. And he was supposed to be very, very brutal. And then we also have this other legend of this woman who was Madame Bathory, who was the legend is that she would bathe in the blood of young women in order to keep her own youth. So she was sort of obsessed with blood. And now later, more and more research has been done, and it's all, of course, most of it is speculation and some of it is based on facts. But a lot of what we know about Madame Bathory is not entirely the whole story. For example, she had a lot of power and she had a lot of land. And guess what happens in, the 16th century and the 17th century when you have a lot of power and you have a lot of land and you're a single female? You get labeled a witch, or a evil countess, or a vampire, or sometimes another kind of supernatural creature, and eventually you're railroaded out of town, burned at the stake, or walled up in your own castle. But she is said to have been like a very abusive. She employed a lot of young women. She was said to be abusive. Again, we don't really know if all of these things are just rumors that were started in order to seize her land, because that's actually what happened when she was convicted. Her castle and her lands were seized. But Stoker, being this incredible writer, sort of is plucking, the goriest details from the past and weaving them together into this vampire, into the story of Dracula. And then and that is hardly the first story. Many, in fact. No, you have to poke me when we have a break, because we're talking about vampires.
We got like eight and a half minutes.
Okay.
8.5 minutes. We got lots of time.
Okay. So one of the coolest stories, and anyone out there can probably, well, not to sell myself short, you can find it in my book. I included it in its entirety in my book, Banshees, Werewolves, and Vampires. But you can also, quite frankly, it's old public domain, and you can probably find it unlike Gutenberg. And it's this really old story called, well, I call it Clarimonde, but it was actually, I'm going to totally butcher the French, but it was originally called La Morte Amoureuse. And it was written by a man named Théophile Gautier, and then he wrote it in France in, I think, like the 1830s. And this is actually one of, if not the first, I think it was the first vampire novel ever published, but it was not the first one published in English. And it wasn't actually translated into English until 1900. And it's a pretty racy story, actually. But the gist of the story is that there's a priest who is about to take his vows to become, one with God for all eternity. And the church door blows open, and this enchanting woman comes in and sits down in one of the pews, and he gets completely distracted. And he sort of slowly descends into madness and doubt until, I don't want to ruin the end, but there's a wee bit of necrophilia in there. So it's definitely
just a wee bit. Just a wee bit.
Just a tinge. Anyway, it's very, very dark, but the reason so she never really pounces on him and draws blood from his neck. She is sucking the life out of him and making the everything that he thought was right wrong, and causing him this grave illness that almost drives him to madness. But it's this idea that something it's a very interesting way of looking at the vampire, especially when, the author did not choose the priest by happenstance. So you have a priest, you have temptation, you have this beautiful woman, you have all these kind of typical icons of some kind of very common at that time, and still probably today and years past. And it's just a very interesting and very beautifully written. And I think honestly, it would be interesting to have it retranslated today, to get a different perspective on it, because it was translated in 1906, which, people, especially in England and the US, you couldn't show an ankle back then. So I imagine the original French is even raunchier than this one. But the guy who wrote it was actually a friend of Victor Hugo, and spent most of his time as a journalist, and just came up with this story that is kind of forgotten, but largely among vampire scholars thought to be one of the best vampire stories of all time. It's very beautifully written. So I'll say the name again. It's called Clarimonde, Clarimonde, and the author's last name is Gautier, Gautier. It's really a wonderful read if anybody wants to read a very unique vampire story. But again, so it's not always the, chomping into the neck and drawing out all the blood. There are these other sort of, it's almost like he hints at it. And in fact, if I didn't tell you it was a vampire story, I'm not sure that you would assume that entirely until you get, of course, to the end. Kind of just sounds like a really sad love story, a tormented love story.
Wow.
With a wee bit of necrophilia.
Yeah, just a tad on the side. I have a little necrophilia on the side here. Varla Ventura.
Too much. Oh,
necrophiliac.
Thanks.
An author is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Question from Dave Olay in our chat room. What's the best and most realistic vampire movie you think is out there?
Oh, wow. Oh, you know what? What's it called? Let the Right One In. Did you ever see that? I think that's what it's called. It's based on a book, and it's so creepy. It's like this little girl that's a vampire, and she just sort of stands on the side of the road. And I want to say it was Swedish originally, so the lighting in the whole thing is sort of like that winter light where it never quite gets fully light. And I'm pretty sure it's called Let the Right One In. I think that might be the most realistic. But I'd have to think more on that.
And here I thought you would have said Interview with a Vampire.
No, Let the Right One In. Look it up. It's very well. Let me look it up and make sure it's the right name. But Let the Right One In. I believe. I mean, I know there was a. Yeah, that's definitely the name of it. Because I read the book as well, and the book was rather haunting. But I already had watched the movie, unfortunately, so I knew how it ended. But yeah, that's a unique vampire horror film.
We got 2.5 minutes before we have to go to break at the top of the hour. Varla Ventura is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Varla, when it comes to vampires, do you believe that this is a real species? Outside of maybe some sort of projecting it into society, much like a djinn or a tulpa. Okay, but do you believe that they actually truly exist?
I think that they're human, actually. I think they're just really intense humans. Like some kind of humanoid. I mean, I think they're just like a species of human. I think they're human. And I do believe that they have, I think they're real. I just don't think they're real in the way that Hollywood wants us to think they're real. And I say that with no judgment because I love that idea of a vampire, and I would love for that to be the real vampire. But I think the real vampire is much more subtle and much more under the radar. But yes, I do believe, I think it's kind of like that idea that, we're all kind of just this close to madness. And we've seen a lot of that, right? In the current, anyone who had to do, lockdown for 2 months or anything like that and hardly talk to anybody else besides your own shadow, you really, you can see who would survive to the end of the film and who would just, twist their ankle in the graveyard and just go out, because some people just panic. And I feel like there's a long-lasting element to the vampire that it's like a person that endures, and they do endure by living off of other people in that way.
Well, that's one way to put it, right?
So that's not really, that was like a politician answer for if I think vampires are real. I do think vampires are real. I do believe in them.
Well, isn't that pleasant? It's that pleasant. When we come back, we got an audience question about vampires, the psychic variety. And we're going to get into more about monsters that are surrounding us. Is there an area around North America that we are not surrounded by some sort of monster or creature? Varla Ventura is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Her website, varlaventura.net, because she just loves her first name and her last name. So that's why we have her on here. We love Varla here, and she's such a great, passionate, authoritarian speaker on all things folklore, legends, monsters, and even a few mermaids or two. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio after this. All right, we are clear. I'm just going to run my puppies out. I'll be right back, okay? 6 minutes.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Hey, Space Travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hi, This is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks, I'm posting brand new...
Okay.
All right. What's new?
I forgot to say my joke.
You did totally forget to say your joke.
Yeah. It just didn't feel like the right time.
I'm sorry.
We'll end with it. No, we're going to end with it.
Sounds good.
It's pretty funny, I think, but maybe I'm building it up too much. Mm-hmm. It's just like you don't come across paranormal jokes that much, so...
I'm just sitting here hanging out. Doing a radio show, 90 seconds.
Okay. No bigs. Just a casual Thursday night.
You have no idea how much getting firewood actually wears you out.
I do actually know how much getting firewood. I grew up in the woods and we had to totally haul firewood all the time and it sucked.
Oh, I enjoy it. I enjoy it. I enjoy it. It's a good workout.
Never really did it much as an adult. Probably because just someone else can get up for me.
Do you have a fireplace? I'll deliver some wood.
I don't have a fireplace right now. I do not. But I have a huge fire pit in my front, and I had a huge bonfire the other night, and it was fucking awesome. And all my neighbors were having giant bonfires. It was like social distance bonfires. It was great.
Nice.
And there was actually a guy across the park, and we were kind of having a bonfire off. I felt like he was like trying to make his bonfire bigger than mine, and you could see it from a few blocks away. So I would put more dry, kindling on mine.
Perfect. That's what you need to do.
Bonfire walls.
That's what you need to do. All right, I got to find this question. It was way up here. Where is it here? All right, we're coming back right now.
It's Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter @Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight. We welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Kappa Aesthesia. Kaka Aesthesia is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter @SpacedOutRadio and on Instagram @SpacedOutRadioShow. Tonight we are talking to Varla Ventura. It's all things monsters. Are we surrounded by them? Varla's website, varlaventura.net. You can go to her website, find all of her books there, or on Amazon or any major bookstore. Varla, always a pleasure to have you here.
Why, thank you. Nice of you to have me back.
Well,
you have the nicest audience. I mean, everybody's so loyal and keeps listening and comments and makes funny tweets, and it's great. It's like the most interactive audience of any show I'm ever on.
Well, we love it. We love them around here. Totally love them. They're good people. They're good people. We kind of like them. They're brilliant too. Very brilliant.
Yeah. It's very clever.
Speaking of audience members, Dark Hour is asking, Varla, is the psychic vampire aware of their actions? Is their intent?
Good question. The responsible psychic vampire is, but there are a lot of irresponsible psychic vampires out there. So there are people who are just needy, who you might label as a vampire, a psychic vampire. Those are the people that are unawakened and unaware of how the effect that they have on people. Then there are people who are awakened and they realize that they have that effect on people and they don't really care. And then there's another level of people who are awakened, know they have that effect on people, know they can't necessarily change that about themselves, and so enter into consensual situations in which they can sort of feed on the energy of someone else. So most vampires that I know are very, very intuitive, tend to be intuitive and very empathic people. And so usually, I mean, people who are empathic are frequently very kind at their core, but as they continually absorb the feelings of others and things around them, it can drive them to be a little bit less, just a little less scrupulous. So yeah, I worked on, when I was working on the book that I had mentioned, the one that I wrote about vampires in, so Banshees, Werewolves, and Vampires, that in that book, I was actually researching a little bit more about this phenomenon of psychic vampires and what that really meant, and interviewing some people from the various vampire communities. And I was actually really surprised that there was this whole kind of process to recognize that you were a psychic vampire. And it was almost like therapy, like to do something about it. Like you're not saying I'm not going to be this is, you basically are saying like, this is who I am. This is how I'm going to do it responsibly, and I will find my community. And it reminded me a lot of like, a BDSM community, not to equate it only with that, but where people are willingly being in a certain like more subservient position, or just this kind of like, there's this dynamic there that it actually really surprised me. I had never really thought about it up until that point. And, it's been a few years since I wrote that book, but up until that point, I had a much more romanticized view of the vampire and had read a couple like articles and things about psychic vampires, but hadn't really, realized the sort of many layers to it. And it's actually, it's a pretty, it's this whole intense process. It's almost like a person goes through this complete transformation. And then when they do that, they're able to function in society. So you would not necessarily know that they are a psychic vampire. That's the kind of full circle element of it, that they just are functioning in whatever they do. And when they have that need and they need to sort of like, quote unquote, prey on someone, they have a means to get energy off of other people. It was very interesting. Like, I have no idea what it would, this was all usually from the vampires' point of view, like the interviews I did. I never really talked to a donor and what that entails, but I did talk to a young guy whose family was actually sort of descendant of Romany gypsies, and talked about his family's history and how they would kind of have this relationship with like a lord of this is like in Hungary, and they would have this relationship where like the gypsies could kind of stay indefinitely on the lord's land without, him harassing them or kicking them off. And in exchange, he would usually request that someone come up to the castle to feed him, essentially. And so the Dracula legend is also kind of, when Vlad Dracula is again an amalgamation of that, with the bathing in blood and the crazy guy who stabbed heads on spikes. So awesome. Yeah, they're out there, man. Look out.
Awesome. Let's go to Devin's question here. Devin is asking, do you think the popularity of the concept of vampires is largely due to its allowance of exploring our own shadow?
Ooh, nice. Yeah, definitely. It allows us to do that in a movie theatrical or, fictional way, but it also allows us to kind of, embrace that. I think you see, absolutely. I think it does. I think that's sort of the core principle of Halloween, right? To be able to like embrace your shadow side. And that's why it ritualistically is a very important time of year to sort of really go inward and embrace that darkness. And some of us, those of us who are up in the middle of the night, have already, become accustomed to embracing a certain element of that darkness. But, I do think, because there are some vampire stories that have become, they are as mainstream as it gets and have been mainlined, really, right? Like the Twilight books and Interview with a Vampire and True Blood, like all of those are vampire books and movies and things like that like your average person who you might not even think of would stay up with a candle flickering at midnight is just devouring them. So it absolutely, it allows us to explore a secret part of ourselves that not everyone wants to. I mean, it would be like really nice to just like leap on someone, suck up all their blood, be able to fly around, and then like not even worry about it until the next day. I mean, who among us hasn't thought that'd be nice once in a while?
Truth, right? Truth. All right, let's go over to Twitter at #SpacedOutRadio for Goddess Michelle's question. And
yay, Goddess Michelle. Hello.
Yes, we love her.
You.
And she is one of the nurses on the front line protecting people from the COVID pandemic. So we love you, Michelle, for the sacrifices you, your friends, and your teams have all made to help people. That is just awesome. And she is asking, can you kill a vampire with nasty thoughts?
Oh, okay. So do you mean, can you use your own nasty thoughts to kill a vampire? Or
yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's something in like, how do you get rid of a vampire? So the ways to ward off a vampire, especially in like the folkloric record, are pretty remarkable. Of course, we've all heard about the stake through the heart and the garlic, right, to repel, which has a very interesting, there's an interesting tidbit about the garlic. But one of the ways to like repel and actually kill a vampire is to take the ash from their grave and sprinkle it across your hearth. So, that's kind of risky, right? Like if it's a vampire and you're just like poking around their grave, guess you could go during the day. So it's just like really, really hard things to do. Like that's a pretty dramatic, you like burn the vampire and take some of their ash and throw it across the hearth and they'll never come back, or throw it across your door. So it's like really, that does not sound like something an average person can do. But I do think in terms of psychic vampires, there's actually a lot of things you can do to protect yourselves and to repel someone. So I would say if you actually think that you might be a victim of like, a psychic vampire who's preying on you, there's definitely some like meditations and exercises and things that you could do to clear that person's energy off of you and to kind of like feed back into yours. There's sometimes it's not as easy. I actually had this kind of weird experience where I had a medium tell me I had like a succubus on my right shoulder, and that it manifested in like certain pains in my body. Now, to me, a lot of this is echoing what we even see in like medieval literature about, the way that people would approach medicine and say like, oh, you've got the vapors. So, you're going to do this and this. Or, you walked too close to a graveyard and so you got some kind of sickness. So there's like, actually, that brings in the garlic. So garlic, of course, has major antibacterial properties. And since vampirism was equated with an illness, which may to very well have been existing undiagnosed illness at the time, it actually makes sense that something very pungent would actually ward off this disease. In this case, it evolved to be a vampire. But there are, I've never, I don't think I've ever killed anyone with, a spell. I can't swear for certain, but I don't think I have. So I think there's definitely like things you can do to protect yourself. But if you think the vampire is like a real person, I don't know that you can kill them. But if you think that it's more of like an entity, yeah, you can banish that. You can banish the HE double hockey sticks out of that.
All right. Let's go to Horror Realms question for you. How long do real vampires live in general? And are there a lot of them in New Orleans that has been reported?
Yes. I think there's a pretty good vampire culture going on in New Orleans. Paris, New York, Los Angeles. Those are the places that I would probably, San Francisco up until probably 1999, there were quite a few vampires and they all got railroaded out by .com industry. Sorry, I lost my train of thought, but yeah, there's, what was the question again, Dave?
In regards to how long do they live, and are there a number of them in New Orleans?
So sorry. Yeah. So I mean, yes, I do think there's a good amount of vampires in New Orleans. It just fits so nicely. But also, so the vampires that I know are very health conscious. Many of them are vegetarian or vegan. They do not drink. They exercise a lot. And so some of those things are known to prolong lifespan. But, I think they're just like everyone else. Some of them might die at 45 in a car crash, and others could live to be 99.
Makes
Smoking
sense.
Cigars.
Oh, you never know. You never know. Nothing wrong with a good cigar.
That sounds way more fun, right? Yeah. It's all genetics.
You got that right. All right. Varla Ventura is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. And, one of the things that, actually, I'll get to this question from Pharmacy here in the YouTube chat first. Does the sulfur in the garlic have anything to do with scaring vampires away?
Yeah, so garlic has, and I'm going to not remember the name of what these compounds actually are, but garlic has these constituents in the oil that actually kind of make that smell really strong. And it's long been used in herbalism to heal wounds, to heal internal parasites. I mean, it has in garlic and onion is also in the same family. So all the things in that sort of allium family. You can eat the top part, and it's a milder version, and then you can eat the bulbs for that concentration. So there's definitely this kind of really intense smell. And not only that, but have you guys ever heard how you eat garlic and then mosquitoes won't bite you? I am constantly devoured by mosquitoes. So this has never worked for me. But my mom used to say when we were kids, if you eat a bunch of garlic, then, because if you eat enough garlic, you reek of garlic. It's not just your breath. It's it kind of emanates out your pores, right? You kind of sweat garlic if you really go all in with the garlic. And so, but even if I make a pesto or something like that, I can actually kind of taste it for a couple of days in my system. It's just kind of it's present. It's okay, we just had a lot of garlic. And I think that idea is that you would be repellent. So you would repel anything. So it would I think people actually believe that it would taint your blood, but also, garlic is just sacred. It's just been used for so many different things and has so many strong medicinal properties that it's been viewed as sacred for, hundreds of years. So it stands to reason that garlic would, which is also prevalent throughout Europe, would come forth as a remedy for the plague and vampires. Never so much werewolves. Werewolves is another story.
Well, there we go. Question coming in, a little bit of a topic change. However,
good timing.
We have, as we got about 5 minutes to go before we go to break at the bottom of the hour. Cat Chaser is asking, are dogmen werewolves?
I've wondered that myself.
This is a great debate.
A great question. Yeah, it is a great debate. I wondered that myself because you've got, I guess, this kind of like traditional werewolf, right? Like when I say werewolf, you think of something that looks more or less like a wolf, but has a little bit of like a broad-shouldered thing going on. But that's kind of really fitting with a lot of the descriptions of dogman. There's also other sort of dog-like equivalent beasts from different cultures that are described and very similarly sound like the description of a werewolf. So the thing is, I mean, a lot of werewolves, werewolves originated in places where there were a lot of wolves. So North America, Scandinavia, and parts of Europe, especially like sort of Eastern Europe and Russia. And that's where you find a lot of the werewolf legends stemming from. Dogman, I mean, I don't know. I haven't heard of any dogman sightings in Scandinavia of late, but I'm not super, super up. So, feel free to correct me or share links that there's evidence of, but I don't know. It is a great debate. I kind of put them all in that.
Go ahead. Finish.
Go ahead. Sorry. No, I was just going to kind of put them all in that, like, cryptid canine category. Like they would all be in the same chapter in my book, but would I call them all the same thing? No, because I don't call all fairies, right? That's just like the greater umbrella term for things that.
But with the dogmen, though, okay, there are a lot of strange sightings regarding this. I mean, obviously, the werewolf side of everything. You have somebody who morphs on a full moon into this hideous dog-like creature. You have the dogmen that are being seen around North America. First reported in the Wisconsin area by Linda Godfrey,
which is where some of the very first werewolf sightings were in the Wisconsin area. The whole Bray Road thing, right?
Yes, the Beast of Bray Road. And, now we have, like Butch Witkowski talks about these, what they call a bipedal canine, which seems to be a bigger version of the dogman, which is seen in Wisconsin and Michigan. And this thing seems to be hovering around the state parks of Pennsylvania and West Virginia, which is, West Virginia and Ohio and Western Pennsylvania. Oh. That's just a screwed up triangle right there. Totally screwed up triangle. Right?
That's like the freakazoid triangle of all cryptids. Right? Like the cryptid triangle, the emerald cryptid triangle. And Ohio is just like, I think that might be the most haunted state in the United States for sure.
You got that right.
I mean, but like if you were like, all of those things just fit the description of werewolves. I think, do we just call it a dogman because we don't want everyone to think that we think we saw a werewolf? And it's like cooler to see a dogman. You know what I mean? Like, are we just saying it's like, is it a goblin or a poltergeist? Seems cooler to say it's a poltergeist because there was like a movie about it, right? But no one's going to believe me it's a goblin. I don't know. I mean, it kind of seems like the same thing to me, but possibly evolved into something even more insane. I don't know. But
I mean, in talking to Jody Cook and other people who investigate dogmen, they get reports from the military that there's these giant dogs that are going out with swords, almost looking alien-like, that have been spotted. Yeah. So there's those reports too. I mean, as we got just under a minute here, I mean, there's a lot of strangeness with this and a lot of different, almost like species of this.
Well, maybe we mislabeled it, 250 years ago as a werewolf. You know what I mean? And the sightings were less frequent, and we called it like these, we called it a werewolf. We called it something else. And it's the same thing, but it's just more frequent now. It's getting angrier. I mean, that's what it feels like, right? Like, let's admit it. It kind of feels like it's like getting more aggressive or getting angrier or like appearing more, and it has more skills, skills for which to fight us.
So in other words, what you're saying is always bring a tennis ball with you just in case you run into Dogman. Varla Ventura is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. North American monsters. Are we surrounded by monsters, everyone? What do you think? Mother-in-laws do not count here on Spaced Out Radio. Good job, Varla Ventura.
Toddlers don't count either. Hey, does your son like Dogman, the Dogman books?
He hasn't really got into it yet. You know what he's really into right now? He's really into the Kraken.
Oh, interesting. Oh, well, then there's the new. Is he stoked about that? The new hockey team?
Oh, yeah.
The logo and everything. The logo is really
try
badass.
finding that up here. The NHL does a really piss poor job of stocking stores with other teams. They really focus on the local team. And
what was that team you mentioned earlier that I'd never heard of? What was it?
The Brandon Wheat Kings.
The Brandon Wheat Kings.
Yes. Junior hockey.
All right. Junior hockey. Yeah. Okay.
Brandon Wheat Kings have been around forever. Yes.
Your son plays.
Yeah, this will be season 2. Is
it happening? You guys sound like you're in like not.
Oh, son of a bitch. Absolutely, it's happening.
Well, I live in Minnesota, and everything else in the entire state could be shut down, and hockey is happening. I mean, they had it so you just dropped your child off at the very periphery of the rinks parking lot, and they just went in and all fully equipped, and then when no parents allowed in there, just to like keep the minimum requirement of how many people were allowed in the rink. I mean, they had a real hard time shutting that down. So yeah, we're doing it.
Oh yeah,
it's happening.
Oh yeah, they're trying to put in these rules that you go into the rink and everybody's got to wear a mask, and I'm just like, you know what, just body check my kid on the ice already, like hammer him. That's how he toughens up.
Well, so my son's a goalie, so that's like the most socially distant position possible.
Yes, that's my biggest fear. That's my biggest fear in life is you realize your son has a few screws loose, right?
So what's really funny is that I know nothing about hockey. Everything I've learned about hockey, I've learned in the last 2 years, and every time I'm like, oh, my son's a goalie, like the other hockey moms will be like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh. And then the other dads, I want to be a goalie. No, you can't be. It's too late for you.
No. You know what? I'll tell you a story. When my dad coached junior hockey, he coached a 16-year-old boy named Olaf Kolzig. 2 years later, Olaf was drafted in the first round of the NHL draft. 17th overall in 1989. And Olaf had 3 catchers. So you being a mom to a goalie, you know what a catcher is, right?
I guess.
That's the glove that he catches the puck with. You got the blocker and the catcher.
Yeah.
Okay. So he had 3 of them. I was
stick. In his glove. I don't know.
I was the stick boy for the team, and every time in practice he had 3 catchers, and every time in practice that he didn't catch a puck that was fired over his glove hand and it went in the net, he would throw his glove over the glass for no reason. But apparently that one wasn't working very well, so I would have to go get his other catcher from the dressing room, bring it on out, and goalies are just friggin' weird people. Weird people.
Okay, I'm prepared.
Yeah,
we're a household of weirdos. So
there's the two weirdest goalies that you can find are Quebec goalie any French Canadian goalie, they're just weird people. And Finnish goalies from Finland, strange people. Like, the stereotype is so true. I mean, and you have to think about it. You want to be hit by 100-mile-an-hour puck. Okay.
Yeah, I've actually asked. Yes, I've asked, like, why, what is it? Like, I understand more of the, like, why you would want to be playing hockey in general, but that position, but I actually think it's a highly, obviously I'm biased, but I think it's a very intellectual. There's a lot of head stuff going on when you're a goalie, and I think it's a very cerebral position compared to, like, being a forward or being just like really out there all the time.
All right. So what you need to do is you need to watch Denis Lemieux from Slapshot. That'll tell you everything that you need to know about goalies.
It's going to be like, sorry, kids, season, they actually canceled everything.
No. I tell you, but you know what? On the flip side, at least your son is a hockey goalie and not playing soccer. That's all that matters. That's all that matters.
Football?
No. Yeah. No. I could honestly. I could honestly say
he loves it, and he's actually really good at it. So that's the thing that's been kind of like. It's very tense.
Music's coming on, but I'll end it at this.
All right.
My son asked me one day if he could play soccer. I said, no, son. And he goes, why? I said, because I like you. And we'll end it right there.
Wow.
Welcome back to the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Great to have each and every one of you with us tonight. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Now, during the break, we're talking with Varla Ventura, our guest tonight. And for those of you who like hockey, we didn't know that she had her own monster in her house. Her son's a goaltender.
Yeah.
You realize that goaltenders have a couple.
We don't breed normies around here, all right?
You believe in Pookas, vampires, and eggshells, and your son's a goaltender.
Goaltenders.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. We're that family.
Yep. Well, you know what? Good luck. At least he's playing. That's all that matters. At least he's playing. My little guy starts in a couple of weeks here. They're starting the year a little bit late here, but I will say this. If my son wants to become a goaltender,
you will tell him no.
I will say to him point blank, sure, son, you go, you do that. But first, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the child psychologist, doctors, everything, because goalies are wingnuts, man. Goalies are wingnuts on the ice. Nicest people off the ice, but on the ice, there's something. It's like they snap. Anyway,
well, he's only 9, so
it's already in there. It's already in there. That's just the way it is. No, I mean,
there's a little bit of like a strain. It's definitely in contrast to his regular personality. There's a little bit of like a
yes.
Oh, there's something a little.
I will say this, and I will almost guarantee this because you made a minor comment about it during the break. Okay, all the parents look at you differently because your child is the goaltender.
They bring you drinks.
Yeah.
And just very sympathetically, and then let you kind of like stay, because you also stay, especially when your kid's little, right? Like you you go where you can see them. And when your kid's the goalie, you go down to the very end.
Yes.
So so you're usually standing by yourself down there pretty much always. Unless especially at the little, here we have mites, right? So the little kids, and then mites and squirts and stuff. So the younger kids, you've usually got, one parent at least, and they're wherever they're so. So you're just standing there alone, and then occasionally if someone's sympathetic to you, they'll drop off a beer in your hand or something to take the edge off.
You know what
I have a
go ahead.
No, I just have a friend who had 2 older sons, and whatever, I'm from California. I moved to Minnesota, and my son starts playing hockey, and she said, "Oh, well, one thing I want to tell you is, as a goalie mom, you're not going to sit with the other moms." And she didn't mean it like you're not welcome to sit with.
No, you're not. You're not welcome.
You're not.
You're not welcome. Just letting you know, you're not welcome. You're never going to be invited to the team parties or anything like that. No, it's the rule.
I don't care.
It's the rules. You know what? My dad used a quick hockey story here. My dad used to coach me, and I was 15 years old, and I was what you called back then a power forward at 15. So a power forward is a guy who will go stand in front of the net, take a bunch of cross checks and punches and sticks to wherever. All right. And so one day we're playing this team, and I line this guy up, defenseman up. He's coming right underneath from behind the net, and he's got his head down. And I remember it clear as day. And I'm like, I got you. Right in the trolley tracks. I lower my shoulder, and the last second he jumps up and elbows me right in the chin. I was wearing braces, so my entire mouth was bleeding. My cage hit my nose, shattered my nose. First time I broke my nose, and I was knocked out.
First time, spoken like a true hockey player. First time I broke my nose.
Yeah, and I was knocked out, and I couldn't open my eyes. And I was, and I also had the wind knocked out of me from hitting the ice, and I had a concussion. And so my dad, this is how hockey has changed. So my dad runs out onto the ice, because at that time the teams didn't have trainers. The coach would run out for any injury. And he's like, "Get up." And I'm like, "I can't. I don't know where I am." And he's like, "Well, open your eyes." I said, "I can't. Everything is black." And oh yeah. And he looks at me, and so he helps me up. I skate to the ice, and one of the other dads is a doctor in town. Now, he comes on the bench. They take my helmet off, and I'm like, "Come on, I got to get out there." Typical Canadian thing. You got to get out there. You can't let your team down. My nose was twisted, and so they put my nose back, and he says, just had he goes, "Did you black out?" I said, "Yes." "Oh, you just got your bell rung." He goes, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Get back out."
That expression.
Get back out there. Get back out there in a couple of next period. Take a period off. Now, today's protocol, I would have been out for months.
Yeah.
Because we didn't know about the head injuries back then. But back then, it's always beautiful.
That would not. Well, I don't know. I don't think that would happen today. Pretty sure it wouldn't.
Mm-hmm. No, it's good stuff. I didn't mind.
Yeah, the head injury really explains a lot.
Oh yeah. No, it's true. It's true. That was my first concussion. The scary part about it is you keep back then you kept playing like that. Okay. And when I was like 16, 17, I couldn't figure out why I was all of a sudden having vertigo attacks.
Yeah. Well, you were like kind of, and your thoughts were probably kind of constantly a little bit foggy.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's okay though. It's okay. We survived.
Yeah, I've only really had one solid concussion, and I did fall on the ice, but I was not playing hockey. I was drinking and trying to do like backyard curling.
Yeah, that never will go well. Never will go well. I could tell you that.
Cocktails on ice, not a good thing, and especially when you just have no clue how to even walk on ice because you're from California. So I hit my head really hard. That's how I got into audiobooks, because it was the only thing I could do. I hit my head really hard, and it was, I never had a concussion before, and I just went about my business. I just tried to do everything normal the next day, and I just wasn't really feeling right. And I realized something was wrong because I actually drove, if you can believe that. I went to like that class in the morning, like some kind of exercise class, and I came back, and I just I think I was just sitting in the driveway for like some sort of non-okay amount of time, and then realized what I was doing, and just looked at the time and just like, what is happening to me? And I ended up having to, everything you're not supposed to do, right? Like, I looked at computers, I read, I exercised, I did everything you weren't supposed to do. And it lasted a really long time. So, and that was figuring out that that's what I had. People just used to go about their business.
Oh, yeah. We should probably talk some monsters while you're here, because we could talk
monsters within us.
So if any,
that's not fun.
One other quick thing. If anybody ever wants to know why I sound nasally on the air, it's because of my nose. I think I'm up to like 5 times I've broken it now, but that's okay. Yeah, that's okay. Well, my kid broke it a couple weeks ago.
Oh,
yeah,
we must just break.
Yeah, we were wrestling, and he accidentally kicked me in the face as I brought my head up. Yeah, that one hurt. So I went in the bathroom and straightened out my nose. But that's okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
So tough, Dave.
It's what you got to do. It's only it's only a nose. I mean, it's not like it's not like breathing is important. You know what? I can honestly say I had nose surgery back in my broadcasting school. I'll quickly tell this story. Back in my broadcasting school, after first year, one of my professors brings me in, and he's like, "Dave, you sound great on the air. You're improving really well." He goes, "But I got to tell you, I don't know what we could do about your sound." I said, "Why?" He goes, "Can you breathe out of your nose after all the hockey you played?" And I went, "Yeah." He goes, "Because every time you're on the air, you hear, and can't hear you." And so he recommended that I go for rhinoplasty. I have injured a lot of bones and ligaments in my body. I will never, ever have rhinoplasty again. I've blown out my knees, my back. I've dislocated my ankles, both of them. Okay. I have had concussions, everything. The worst thing I've ever gone through in pain was having nose surgery. Never again. Never again. Brutal, terrible, horrible pain, horrible. Speaking of which, let's go back into monsters right now.
Speaking of horrible pain,
because I look like a monster after I had my nose surgery. But let's get back into monsters. There are monsters all across Canada and the United States and around the world that we are trying to get to. Everything from the Jersey Devil to the Cadborosaurus and right across Sasquatch in every forest. We have them all. Are there these creatures? A lot of them are sea monsters. A lot of them are forest dwellers. We don't see many outside of the thunderbird and the ropin or the pterodactyls in the air, which I don't really believe are out there. I know it kind of sucks, but what's more intriguing?
Yeah, sorry, people. Dinosaurs are extinct. Accept it.
Yeah, but you can say that. But let's talk about sea monsters, because we've discussed this a couple of years ago. Okay, but you look at the Ogopogo here in BC. Okay, you look at the Cadborosaurus on the west coast from British Columbia all the way down to northern California in the ocean. You got Kipsey. You have Champ. You have a lot of sea monsters that are still being seen.
Yeah, right. So, do we really know? Do we know what happened under the sea at the time? Do we know what the sea level? it just feels like we're kind of constantly, in terms of science, and the thing you have to accept as a scientist is that things will change and they will evolve with the further evidence. So if you're constantly basing something on the existing evidence and then the evidence changes, then the whole story changes. I'm not a scientist. I'm a supernaturalist. So I do have actually some science leanings. I don't just, in spite of my love of vampires, I don't always look at everything from the it has to exist point of view. But I think within science, there's that more holistic view that is becoming more popular, and that is accepting of other cultures and the way that they look at the world and creatures. But like sea creatures, I think there's something lost in telling. I think it's like a game of telephone. So if I tell you about this sea creature that washed up on the shore, and it had long tendrils, and it seemed very supple, and it had a multitude of colors, I could be talking about a mermaid, right? But probably I'm talking about like a dead octopus. So, but if I describe that to you, then, you may have this picture in your head of this thing that exists. And then you go on down to the pub and you say, hey, Varla saw this thing that washed up on the beach, and now it's washed away, and it looked like it had a human face, and it had these long tendrils of hair. And so I think that with sea creatures, the old adage about like a fisherman saying that the fish that they caught was bigger than the actual fish. Some of these things may have been a lot smaller, or just more realistic sized. If you think about like these insane things like hagfish and the lanternfish and the vampire squid from hell, which does this thing called pumpkining, and it sort of squeezes itself inside out and looks like a pumpkin and has all of these bioluminescent spots to look like multiple sea creatures, and then it sort of disappears in this dark ink. There's all of these amazing things that are so deep under the sea. Now, the sea creatures, I think, are more plausible for this reason, because I think the sea is so much less explored than yes, there are tracts of lands that we don't know every inch of, but the sea is something else, and we'll never be able to really explore it at the same level that we can. We'll never really be able to take it all in, because we do have technology to be able to breathe underwater, but that just means we may be led to discover some kind of another bizarre creature. It just feels like every day there's a new creature that's discovered in some crevasse deep in the sea. I don't think we have that so much, except maybe in the plant kingdom, on dry land. But I'm gonna have to draw the line with the existence of pterodactyls. I think it's really easy to mistake things that fly, because they fly really far away,
Well, the one thing with the pterodactyl sightings and even the thunderbird sightings, the only thing that I could say of, especially with the thunderbird, that creature is allegedly large enough that would appear on radar because it's the size of an airplane.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
And that would be one giant poop. It would be one giant poop.
But
honestly,
there's condors in the Andes that have the wingspan of massive wingspans. There's condors in the Andes that have wingspans of 8-10 feet. And in fact, going back to South America, when I was there, I was hanging out in this little town, and this guy came in with this photo album, and he was like a friend of the restaurateur's owner or something. And I can speak just enough Spanish to actually have some conversation. And he sat down and he showed me this photo album. This photo album was documenting this ritual that it was actually his wife's, like the town where his wife grew up. There was this traditional ritual where they would, now this is going to, if you are an animal lover, this is going to sound kind of gruesome. So I'll just give a little disclaimer here. And I am an animal lover, but you know, I just had to set aside whatever cultural biases I had and listen to the story. And basically what happens is they capture a condor. They sew its talons into the hide of a bull, and they, basically just like let them go, and to see who will win. Will the condor just fly away with the bull, or will the bull be able to like gore and rip its way free? And so there were some pictures documenting it. It did get all the way to the end. And in this instance, I think the condor just like ripped free, but it was this massive bird. I mean, it's one thing when you read about it in a book and you kind of, you know, maybe you go to a museum and you see the wingspan. It's another thing when you actually see something that big. And so I do think there's something to that. And to what you're saying is that, you know, it could appear on a radar, whatever, if there was a radar right there. But I don't know. I mean, it's maybe we're just calling it the wrong thing. Like when you say pterodactyl, I think of, you know, this dinosaur thing that was in Pee-wee's Playhouse. You know what I mean? Like I don't think of an actual, but when you say a thunderbird, that's a bit of a different story. So maybe we're just calling things by names that seem like the right name to us because it's familiar, as we werewolf versus dogman, but it's really, the same thing. It's the same creature flying around, right? Waiting for you to trip over a snake in the forest until it can swoop down and.
No, I understand, but let's get back to sea monsters here for a quick second, because it seems like every state or province in British Columbia, right through to New York, has some sort of sea monster that is there. People are seeing these. They're filming these. You know, I know there was, you know, recently there has been video footage out of Okanagan Lake about, you know, these little spikes coming out of the water. You know, it kind of looks like the back of a serpent.
Yeah.
You know, as we only got about 3 minutes here, but to go before we go to break, you know, with sea monsters being so popular in a lot of these big lakes, what kind of creature do you think we're looking at here? Are we looking at something that is almost from the dinosaur period, or are we looking at a sturgeon or a freshwater oarfish, even though they don't exist, but maybe they do?
Yeah. Right. I mean, yeah, maybe they do. I think it could be all of those things. I mean, it could be a completely new species that has evolved, and it could be something that's much older and has been around. I mean, look at Loch Ness, and you think about Loch Ness, and the images that you've seen of it look so much like what is it called? Like a platysaur or something. So don't know my dinosaurs that well. So sorry about that. I mean, the thing is like water is so sacred that there are magical creatures associated with all kinds of water. And I tend to think that they're older than they are newer. I mean, I've seen pictographs along Lake Superior that depict Gitchigummy, which is this insane beast that has a spiked tail that thrashes down and basically causes like the gales of November. So it's definitely not a new thing. I mean, that goes back thousands of years, right? So I think it's there's something about water that can kind of preserve that life and actually allow it to evolve. So, I mean, maybe not every single one of them. I also think water is a very tricky element, you know? I mean, that's part of what happens with the mermaid, is that sort of enchantment of the ebb and flow of water, the lack of oxygen, the trick of the light on the water. All of those things can kind of come together to make you look the other way, or give you that impression that what you're looking at is a sunset, and it can kind of distract you, and then suddenly you're seeing this other thing. And I think we probably have all seen more things than we have talked about, and we've just dismissed it as a trick of the light or a song that, you know, was just our neighbor humming through the fog. So it may well have been a mermaid.
Well, it's always a mermaid with you. Everything's mermaid.
It's always a mermaid.
Varla Ventura. Sea monsters, mermaids, monsters around North America. We continue with Varla, and varlaventura.net is her website. Find all of her books in major bookstores, Amazon, and on our website. We'll be back with Hour 3 coming up next. Varla Poo, I'm just going to run my dogs out. I'll be right back.
Sounds good.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother Is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in this supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month, and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world. relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/spacedoutradio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
All right, Varla Ventura, we got 2.5
Hello,
minutes.
everyone. This is
2.5
Ryan Stacy
minutes
from the experience.
Okay, I'm back. I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm focused. I have a friend in Portland, Oregon, actually, that I had been texting with earlier because she said that that Portland is under an evacuation warning.
Yeah.
For this fire that's like going crazy right there. So in Clackamas County. So I was checking it out.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts there. Scary.
It is. Yeah, I mean, California, I'm just used to there being a ton of fires over the last 10 years, especially. There were not fires like that growing up. There were not. There was maybe one my whole life living in California. One, maybe two. And then in the last few years, there have been so many more. But Oregon, I don't know. I just haven't seen that many wildfires there. So I was shocked when she told me that. I was obviously totally oblivious to what was going on in that part of the country as well. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's nightmarish. I hope I never have to live through that again. When we had ours a few years ago, it was horrible.
It's scary, right? And then you're just like, what do you take? Nothing. Your child, your dog.
I had 1 hour to pack up my house. 1 hour.
God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you have your son then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was the only one up here. Everyone else was down on the coast on holidays. And
oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
So at least your family wasn't there.
No,
worry about that.
It was only me, and thank goodness I had some friends who helped me pack up and grab absolutely everything that we needed to grab. So, the fire came within 2.5 miles of my house, was 3 miles from my house, which was still quite a distance, but
too close.
Still too close.
No, too close.
All right.
Yeah.
Here we go.
.org/donate.
All right. Ready.
Music's on.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to spend with us. We welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Cacastisia. Cacastisia is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We're talking monsters tonight. Are we surrounded by them? Cryptid investigator from Our Cryptid World here on Spaced Out Radio, Varla Ventura. VarlaVentura.net is her website. You can find all of her books in any major bookstore, as well online, like places like Amazon, and on her website. So check it on out. Varla, welcome back.
Well, thank you.
We were
Thanks for that
talking.
little plug.
Yeah, that's what I like to do for you. You know, you're kind of nice to be here. Varla, we were talking sea monsters right beforehand, and I'd asked you what you believe they are. And, you know, we discussed whether they're sturgeon, whether they're some sort of subspecies of fish that we haven't really discovered. I mean, how come you would think that if we had any notion of what these species were, that there would have to be some sort of breeding program? You know, they would have to be breeding to keep a species going, especially if it was something like dinosaurs. I mean, if you think of the Loch Ness Monster.
Unless it's just like,
yeah,
it's one really, really old one in each lake.
Well, what do you think?
I think there has to be more than one, right? Like there has to be some kind of, like there must be more than one. There must have been more than one that survived to begin with. I mean, when we talk about like the Loch Ness Monster, right, we just call it like the Loch Ness Monster, but we don't know if it's all the same creature each time. I mean, it would be hundreds and hundreds of years old at minimum. So I don't know. I mean, I think that's part of the real intrigue and mystery. It's, again, one of those, kind of going back to what we were talking about at the very beginning, it's one of those situations where we have just enough evidence to make us not be able to really, really dismiss it entirely, but not enough evidence to really know what it could be. We've had instances of these giant oarfish washing up on the shore, like in California, and then having that actually relate to deep underwater earthquakes in the Pacific Ocean. So there's some speculation that for people who had the sightings, you know, back in the day, that you could look at some of the folkloric record and actually compare it to what was happening geologically, and that can cause certain, disturbances of creatures that prefer to dwell at the very bottom and allow them to resurface. But with something like a Loch Ness or a Kelpie, which is that very horse-like creature, those actually exist, right? Like seahorses exist, and other kind of creatures that look like kelp exist in a very, very minor, small form. I mean, they're teeny tiny, but they still exist. So there's evidence to show that these kind of creatures have evolved for life in the deep. So if you were like the only one in this big body of water, then maybe you could live for an incredible amount of time. I mean, whatever, like turtles live a really long time, but it seems pretty unlikely that it would be the same creature for like 300 years, right? That seems like a stretch, but I don't know.
Well, and that's the big thing, though, is that we see these videos, we see these photos that people are capturing, and they honestly look like some sort of serpent. We've seen photos with spikes. Some of them can be debunked. Let's just be honest. There's always going to be someone out there who wants to play a trick or get their 15 minutes of fame that will spread over Google for the rest of their lives. All right. But there's some reality to a lot of these videos that are out there as well. And, it's really scaring people. But I mean, the thing that still baffles me about it, and I just asked you this a couple seconds ago, is the whole breeding side. In order to have these creatures, they must be breeding. There has to be more than one. What was this? I heard a scientific, and I'm going to blow this. I know I'm going to blow this, but I think you have to have a minimum of a certain amount of creatures in order to keep them going. You know what I'm saying? So they don't go out of extinction. And with these legends,
unless there's no predators.
Exactly. But as a lot of these creatures, though, as you stated, that means they would be living for 300, 400, 500, 600 years, which is unheard of on this planet. except for one breed of shark that lives up to 400 plus years.
Right. And then that leads you to wonder, are they breeding in sort of a quote unquote off planet way? Are they breeding in what we might refer to as another dimension or another aspect of the world that we cannot see? And then they occasionally just rise up. So one thing I do think is really kind of significant about all of these creatures, the any kind of monster, any kind of sea creature, any kind of cryptid, fairy, anything that falls in that category, mermaids, I don't think everyone sees them. I don't think every average person even has the ability to see them. So if they are, and this is all speculation, right? Because I don't know. But if they are actually kind of, blipping through the space-time continuum or like poking through from another dimension, then the people that see them have a gift. They have a sight. They have an ability to see something that's not there. So whether you think you saw it out of the corner of your eye or, you saw your dead grandpa sitting on the foot of your bed, you are able to see something that the person right next to you might not be able to see. And of course, there are collective sightings, right? We know that we've had this with UFO sightings, with Bigfoot, with ghosts. We do have people who have shared experiences. So I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but I think that when you see these things, it really isn't, it's important for us to realize that not everyone can see that. And it's actually like a super valuable and really important and actually very sacred experience. I think we get very obsessed with the hunt and we forget about how important it is that we actually saw something that no one else can see. And what does that mean? That, is that a message to us as humanity, or is it a message to you personally? Like, is there something like the dimes? Is there something that seems like a message like you're on the right track? That's, these are the kind of messages, these are the kind of signs. And I think maybe that's what is the most appealing to me about sea creatures, cryptids, monsters in general, is that, we all either have seen them or we want to see them. And there's something about them. It feels like if I could just see it, it would change everything. Having said that, I do know a few people who have seen things and it has changed them for the worse. Certainly. I can think of a few people who have had some encounters. It has rattled them, in particular with Bigfoot, Dave. It has rattled them, or some kind of Bigfoot-like creature, Sasquatchy type thing. It has rattled them to the point that it actually shook the very foundation of what they thought was real and what was not real, and has since led them down a path of paranoia, really. So it can be incredibly powerful, and we can armchair hunt in relative safety, but when we actually see those things, it can really you have to be fortified in a certain way and recognize that you've seen something really powerful, and that kind of for whatever that means for you, but for some people it can cause, and I think we see that sometimes in the UFO community as well, that people who have had abduction experiences and things like that, like it really changes their foundation of what they believe, safety, all of those kind of things can really can kind of be undermined. So I think that happens with cryptid sightings. But, I just kind of think back to the idea of the second sight. I could be standing next to you in a market and I can look and see that a woman is, this sort of horrific hobgoblin, and say, yeah, Dave, let's go to a different stall, right? Let's go to this other stall at the market. Let's not go there. and you might be like, yeah, okay, that whatever, not even notice it. But I saw that this person had like morphed into this horrific gray, like fairy being or whatever.
Right.
Just in this scenario, I don't know where this scenario came from. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, they could totally be breeding, but breeding in a completely different dimension. I don't really even like that term of saying like multi-dimension or off planet. I just think we use these words and these terms because we don't really have any better way to explain it, but it doesn't quite feel right to me to just say it's this other dimension. It's like another layer or something. It's semantics really at that point.
Bomber is asking a question. It's a bombshell of a question here. Can we talk about Sasquatch? What's your thoughts on what this creature is?
Well, I'm going to be honest. Up until a few years ago, I was incredibly skeptical about Sasquatch. I thought that a lot of the sightings were exaggerated, and maybe they are, but I just didn't really, I couldn't quite wrap my mind around that until a friend of mine had an experience on his property that was very, very unexplained. And then within another kind of year of that, my cousin and his son independently told me about some Sasquatch or Bigfoot sightings that they had. And this was both in Oregon and also in Northern California, in kind of a rural part of Northern California. And especially when my young cousin, like my cousin's son, was telling me, the way he was describing it, it wasn't like, it was like, it was just so, he was very calm about it, but also it was very clear he had all the details in a way like kids only remember. It wasn't particularly scary. But he explained it to me in this way that it just made me realize how closed off I had been to the possibility of it being real. And I completely believed him, and I believed his dad, and I believed his, my friend, and this crazy noise that they had heard. So I kind of didn't really believe in Sasquatch up until a few years ago, even though I would I'd listen when people would tell me stories. And I think it kind of really, made me realize that there are sort of the Sasquatch equivalents in a lot of places, in particular in in North America. So if you dig deep, like the one instance that's in Mayadu territory, and my friend is an archaeologist, and he actually dug real deep in some literature, and he found some instances in which it had been recorded from maybe like the 1800s of a couple of Mayadu legends about these sort of moaning, ultra tall giants that were very hairy. And they called it something completely different, but it basically kind of, in my mind, fit in that category of that supernaturally Sasquatchy type thing. So I think there's like counterparts to the Sasquatch all over North America.
Do you believe Sasquatch is of an earthly descent, maybe some sort of hominid that has been able to, perfect itself in Mother Nature for camouflage? Or do you believe there is something a little bit more supernatural with this?
Oh, I think it's just its own species, I guess, like another kind of animal. And in this case, we call it supernatural because it's not as normal. But I feel like it's been here longer than we have. I just feel like humans are just this tiny little blip in the evolution of all of these creatures, and we call it something that fits our current lexicon, Bigfoot or Sasquatch, but it's just going to keep on moaning and stomping through the woods long after we're gone, and has been there long before we arrived.
Is it a danger?
If you're a jerk, I mean, if it's threatened, if you're a jerk, if you're hunting for it, then yeah, I would call that a danger, I think. But I don't know. I mean, all of those supernatural creatures, including the realm of the fairy, you do have to tread lightly and tread with respect. And I think, if you're doing it with respect and you're being, aware, and you're not just like yelling out, "Hey, come here, I'm going to shoot you with a bow and arrow," or whatever, then you're still probably not safe, Dave. Let's be honest. You should fear the Sasquatch.
I don't fear the Sasquatch. A lot of people do.
Not you personally, but, it ain't Harry and the Hendersons,
No, I will agree with that. It's definitely not Harry and the Hendersons. And I do believe that people do need to be careful, especially when in any type of natural environment. But that being said, we hear of this species being docile on the West Coast around the bayous of the South. We hear it being more aggressive. I'm sure.
Well, the humidity makes you cranky.
Oh, very true. Plus, dodging gators, crocodiles, alligator gar, vampires, and water moccasins. That's just not a polite thing.
Snakes in water.
Exactly.
Snakes in murky water.
So the key that I'm getting at here is, are we seeing these creatures? When I think of that sentence, I do believe that this creature must be natural. However, you hear the stories of First Nations people and Indigenous people around North America who believe that there is something a little bit more to it. Footprints that just end.
Yeah.
That's always a good one.
Oh, yeah, like the Wendigo. The footprints that end. Yeah, again, I think it does come down to us having this incredibly linear view that requires explanations for things that sometimes gets in the way with us actually understanding stuff, basically, right? Like, we're so intent on trying to figure it out that at times we're not able to understand it, and letting those experiences come to you. And of course, like anyone, sometimes you have a profound experience and you don't understand the impact of it for years. That's kind of human nature. But I think if you are having, like maybe they're misunderstood, just like I think mermaids people think are nice, and I don't think they are at all. So I think they're very misunderstood in the opposite way. And certainly, like, I think if I were a Sasquatch, I would want everyone to be afraid of me, because I would have at this point have observed humankind and the way that we treat each other and the way that we destroy things. And I would want everyone to be afraid of me so they don't come looking for me. So, and I've actually maintained that belief for a while about the Sasquatch. I don't think that they want to be found. So if you do see one, I think that is like a very profound statement about the kind of person that you are, because I don't think that they would just show up for anyone. I think that about a lot of those sort of cryptid creatures. And yeah, when you look at it from a indigenous point of view, it doesn't have the same, is this real? Is this not real? What, can I find this? Did it exist before me? But it has a visit from the supernatural has a very specific message in your life. And so I don't know. I think it's a gift to be able to see something like that. And maybe instead of viewing it like something to be, I don't know, put up on whatever, like a video, or I don't want to disparage YouTube because I actually really like YouTube, but it's easy to fake something, right? So, it's not just about like putting a Nessie picture on your Instagram. It's about that experience of what that means. If you are standing on the shore of some lake and you actually have an encounter and see something, it will shift your point of view, and it will shift, parts of your brain. And that, to me, that is like way, way more profound than whether or not I have any kind of tangible proof. But what is very profound about that is, for the last 2 hours, right, we've been debating things that a lot of people would just dismiss and not believe are true at all. And we've suspended our doubt long enough to just, okay, let's just go with it. All right, there are vampires, and that's something that I think is really super valuable when we're talking about cryptids or any kind of supernatural creature, is just the way that it kind of shifts our point of view, which we could use a lot more of in this day and age, of just looking at things in a way that
I hear you.
What's right in front of us.
Varla, I have to say goodnight to you. Thank you so much, man. We are done
already. There I'm blabbering about Bigfoot.
Varla Ventura, everybody. Well, let's get to the Newswire and the thought of the day next. Amazing Varla Venturing again.
Oh my gosh. I feel like I need like a shut up cue or something so I can wind it down.
Yes.
Thanks, Dave. You're the best. You're always such a wonderful,
you are the best. You are the best. I just am here for the looks and the value of the show. That's it.
Yeah, totally. You're the face.
Uh-huh. Perfect. And your teeth looked amazing tonight.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't know if anyone's ever said that to me before.
I'm that guy. I am that guy right now.
My joke. Can I tell it to the YouTubers at least?
Tell the YouTubers the joke.
Okay. What happens if you don't pay a priest for the exorcism?
What happens if you don't pay the priest for the exorcism? I don't know.
Your house gets repossessed.
That's terrible. That is terrible.
It was so worth it, though.
That was so worth it. So worth it. But that is horrible.
Oh, really? You think so?
Oh,
great.
my gosh.
So good.
How could you?
Hey, well, this is like bonus content.
All right. I get that. I see that now, apparently. My goodness. We were in for a real treat of humor tonight on the Mighty SOR.
So you thought.
Yes. Varla Ventura, she will be. Where are you appearing next?
With that one.
where are you appearing next?
Oh, I'm doing a Three Beards podcast as my next appearance. I'm not familiar with it, but apparently they do Facebook Live, so you can see my teeth.
Yes. Teeth are good. You're awesome.
I'll make sure I brush. All right. Well, thanks, Dave.
Love you, and you take care.
Love you too. Oh, all right. Good night. Love you. Bye-bye.
Bye. She's so awesome. That's a theme. Here we got a theme going on here. I see where Shirky Poo is going with this. Yep. Mm-hmm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What is this one? Same. There we go. I think we're good. I think we're good for tonight. Hey, Chicken Cordon Bleu. How are you? We've got just under 2 minutes here. I'm hungry. I had a big meal, too. Healthy meal. Well, almost healthy. There was a salad in there, but it was covered in chicken and pulled pork. Yeah, it was. Oob Joe's Maine, where are you? I know you're evacuated. Where are you, though? Can you let me know? I'm not eating breakfast for dinner or for bedtime snacks. Breakfast is for the morning. We've gone through this. All right, here we go. Music's coming on. There we go. We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I'm your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate you taking the time. Want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Speaking of the news, let's do this thing. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes the protesting. Oh, yeah, we've seen protests going on here for a while. It doesn't matter if it's political. It doesn't matter if it's racial. We see it all right now. No matter where we turn, we are getting punched with protests everywhere. But this is a whole new level of protest going on right now in Tucson, Arizona. Parents waiting for their food at McDonald's on the corner of East Grand Road and East Tank Verde Road took pictures of their kids under a dinosaur. Why? Well, because it's one of the city's most famous landmarks, a realistic life-size statue of a Tyrannosaurus Rex. It has startled drivers and fascinated dinosaur-obsessed children since it went up back in 1994. Now, after a ruling this corner in Tucson for more than a quarter century, the T-Rex is facing possible extinction again. Not from a meteor, not from a flood, not from Megalodon, but from the people who believe he never existed. According to fossil records, T-Rex called Arizona home more than 66 million years ago. But some Christians now, who taking their religion a little bit too seriously with the literal reading of the Bible, have a problem with that statement. While some merely question the timeline and say dinosaurs and humans had lived together during Earth's 6,000-year history via Genesis, others are outright dinosaur deniers. While this may seem extreme, there's plenty of room on the internet for all beliefs. The group Christians Against Dinosaurs have a website and a private Facebook. You got to be kidding me. They got 19,000 members. Oh, yeah. And now at least one member of this group has found a cause right in the dinosaur's backyard, that famous T-Rex statue at the Tucson McDonald's. One of the members of Christians Against Dinosaurs Facebook group called for the T-Rex to be taken down. Call the manager. Oh, this person is a huge Karen. Call the manager and demand the removal of this blasphemy. The member posted the McDonald's address and the phone number, but the staff reported no protest. It seems even Christians Against Dinosaurs doesn't endorse this one member's cause, as they eventually kicked them out of the page. Oh, they got rough with him. Yeah, the McDonald's franchise owner assured everyone that this big lizard staring down at traffic outside their store won't be going anywhere. People really seem to like it. It's a landmark, really. A rep for the franchise says the T-Rex would be hard to take down even if you wanted to. It's 18 feet tall, 40 feet long, made of concrete. Yeah, this thing ain't going anywhere without a bomb. The display is not so much a nod to Arizona's prehistory. It was a way the franchise's previous owner could please their dinosaur-loving 2-year-old. Yeah, the protest may continue. Oh, Bigfoot people, come on. We got to wake up a little bit here. We got to be nicer, Bigfoot people. Seriously. If you are hunting Bigfoot, don't go hunting humans. All right? You'll end up in jail. That's what happened to an Alexander City woman, also a Bigfoot hunter. She's been arrested for attempted murder. Gwendolyn Michelle Jones is charged with after firing a weapon at her sleeping male friend. Back on September 2nd, she shot a Ruger LCP 380 handgun multiple times while he was sleeping. Once the victim awoke, he witnessed Jones standing across the room holding the pistol. She then fired additional rounds while standing in the hallway. She must not have been a good shot. You know, here's the problem, though. Jones's affiliation with Bigfoot research as the Southeast Regional Coordinator. Yeah, that came out last month. The newspaper did a story on her. In a video of Jones recorded by The Outlook, Jones said she was helping conduct a search for Sasquatch in a portion of Talladega National Forest. She stated that she was in the military and law enforcement for 15 years. She also said that she had discovered adult male and female Sasquatch in the area, along with juveniles, and that she fed food weekly to them. Jones was searching for others across the Southeast who have credible sightings of Sasquatch. She is now charged, not looking for Sasquatch in the forest, but looking to keep out of jail, even though she's in there right now. She has an $81,000 bond if you want to help out this Sasquatch hunter, just so you know. Up here in Canada, a Canadian news anchor is calling out one of their viewers who tried to shame and police her body by criticizing her clothing choices. Check News in Victoria, British Columbia, has journalist Corey Sidaway on there, probably a BCIT grad where I went to school, because all the West Coasters are. Well, she shared an email to her and her coworkers claiming that the show's has too much cleavage. Dress appropriately, the anonymous viewer who signed off the email as Vancouver Island Cleavage Patrol. You can't make this up. Sidaway, by the way, posted the email on Twitter, which was sent to her with two photos. One of a screenshot of herself on air, and the other photo of a headless person, not Sidaway, that the viewer said, is this what we actually see when she's reporting? This screenshot was sent to me and my colleagues in an attempt to shame and police my body. Well, I'm taking my power back, Sidaway wrote. To the nameless computer warriors who try to reduce women in an outfit or a body part, this generation of women doesn't stand for that type of harassment. Good for her. Good for her. The news anchor also shared the email on Instagram and added, unfortunately, this happens quite often with women working in the public eye, but that this email was one of the worst. Sidaway tweeted, her tweet, garnered hundreds of responses and retweets, especially from her fellow news anchors and other supporters, calling the viewer's email shameful and appalling. She thanked everybody for their encouragement. And you know what? Female journalists are some of the best out there, if not the best. And nobody deserves to be treated that way. Horrible, horrible person. Vancouver Island Clothing Patrol or whatever the hell they're called. All right. If you're in Tennessee, this is a weird week, man. Weird week. If you're in Tennessee, watch out for a patrolling tiger. There is a tiger on the loose just outside of Knoxville, roaming the wilderness. Why? Well, let's find out. Knoxville County Sheriff's Office issued a be on the lookout notice, the old bolo, after a deputy reported seeing a tiger wandering in the forks of the River Industrial Park. Tiger Haven, a big cat sanctuary in Kingston, Tennessee, was involved in the search for the missing big cat, but it remained unclear whether or not that there is actually a tiger and that it's escaped from somewhere. The Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency is leading the search effort alongside Knox County Sheriff Patrol units, Animal Control, Air Watch, as well as the Knoxville Police Department's Animal Control Unit. If found, the big cat will be taken in by Tiger Haven. So far, the state's wildlife agency says the tiger has not been located. The latest statement was issued just hours ago, saying there are no further sightings right now. All the tigers at the Zoo Knoxville are accounted for, says spokesperson Tina Rowland. The zoo is not involved in the search. We want to reassure everyone that our Zoo Knoxville Malayan tigers, Aria, Bashir, and Tanvir, are all safely accounted for. Our team is standing by to assist if needed. If you need any information, call the police. Can you imagine, I'm going to take little Punky out for a walk tonight. We're going to go do this trail. And the next thing you know, you come across a tiger who says, well, you and the little Chihuahua look like a meal. A tiger. No, thank you. Knoxville is off the list for places to travel now. Scary one out of Brazil. Yeah. So a Brazilian expert on isolated Amazon tribes has been killed by an arrow that struck him in the chest as he approached an indigenous site. Riley Franciscato died in a remote region of one of the Brazilian states. He was in the area to monitor a tribe as part of his work for the government's indigenous agency, FUNAI. Witnesses said Mr. Franciscato and his party came under fire as they approached an indigenous group. Mr. Franciscato, who was accompanied by police, attempted to take shelter behind a vehicle but was struck in the chest by an arrow. A policeman who witnessed the incident said Mr. Franciscato managed to remove the arrow, which hit him right above the heart. He cried out, "Pull the arrow from my chest," and collapsed lifeless. A photojournalist in the region, Gabriel Uchida, says that he was trying to observe a tribe known as the Cautario River Isolated Group. Mr. Uchida, who also witnessed the incident, said that the tribe was usually a peaceful group, but this time there were just 5 armed men, a war party. Indigenous groups in the Amazon and elsewhere around the world have been known to react violently to outsiders on their lands. Indigenous leaders say incidents with illegal miners, farmers, and loggers on their ancestral lands have become much more commonplace since Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro took office in 2019, promising to develop the Amazon region. A sad story. Now, Shirky Poo must have known that, and I hadn't really talked to her about the snake today in the forest, but she must have known. Why? Well, here's the synchronicity of it all. She threw in a pair of snake stories here. She must have known. She must have felt it. She's psychic that way. Employees at a gym in the Netherlands received a scare of a lifetime when an 8-foot king cobra showed up right outside the building. Yeah, manager Dennis Verweege of the Club Pelican Gym in Amersfoort said the employee was moving some pipes stacked next to the building when he uncovered the cobra. Verweege said he thought the employee was pranking him until he saw a video of the unexpected reptile. The Amersfoort Animal Ambulance Service was summoned to the scene, and they called in a snake expert from Amsterdam to assist with the capture when they noted the snake's size and identified it as a venomous king cobra. Verweege said the snake expert told him the king cobra is native to tropical climates and was moving slowly due to the colder temperature in Amersfoort. He said the snake was likely an escaped pet. The snake expert agreed to take the cobra home and care for it until its owner can be located. Cobra at a gym. It's terrible. And then Shirky Poo throws this one into the old cast. When you're in a rush to use the bathroom, last thing on your mind is to check what's in the toilet. Yeah, but one teen in Thailand is lucky and wishes that he took a little look-see in the old bathroom before he went to drop a deuce. Because as soon as he sat down on the toilet, probably playing some video game on his phone, he was bitten by a snake. That is way too close to the bits right there. Shirafop Mascurat says that he was watching, here we go. He was watching videos on his mobile phone while doing his business, and out of nowhere, he felt excruciating. Oh my God! He got bit in the penis. This thing didn't even go for the other parts. No, it saw the other snake hanging down and jammed onto it. The 18-year-old looked down only to discover that a python had its jaws clipped around his genitals. Oh no! Oh, this poor kid. Oh, I'm mortified right now. I am mortified. He says, I was using the toilet, but a few moments after I sat down, I suddenly felt pain in my penis. I looked down and there was a snake hanging from me. Well, at least... Oh my God. Oh, this is terrible. I don't even mean to laugh, but this is my nightmare coming true. There was blood everywhere. It was only a small python, but its bite was so strong, I hope my penis can recover, he says. Yeah, Masukarat said the snake was still attached to him when he stood up. After he slapped... He started slamming the serpent into the bathroom door to release its grip. It finally did. The teen, in immense pain and blood, rushed out. His genitals not knowing if they would survive. This is horrible. His mother, I almost feel like the guy calling the Hindenburg right now. Oh, the humanity. His mother attempted to sue them while they waited for emergency responders. Oh my God, there's more here. Doctors were able to treat him quite easily, though. Since the python was not venomous, all he needed was a bit of sterilization and some stitches. The doctor says my penis can be used as normal soon. Oh no. Back at home, handlers found his snake coiled up in the toilet. It was removed and released safely back into the wild. Believe it or not, Masukarat's incident isn't the first time that someone has been bitten on the bits by a reptile in the bathroom. Elsewhere in Thailand, a woman nearly lost consciousness after a snake bit her on the thigh while she was using the restroom. Oh, this is terrible. The woman's daughter shared the harrowing experience on Facebook. Why would her daughter share this on Facebook? This is terrible. I mean, but can you imagine the kid? Now think about this for a second, because I can't go on without this. This is one of the greatest stories, most horrific, but greatest stories we've ever read here. All right. Could you imagine seeing the kid swinging around, pants around his ankles, swinging around, trying to slap the snake off? Oh, my imagination's way too vivid. It's way too vivid. Oh, my goodness. Thought of the day happens every night at this time. When we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. I can't even think. Yeah, today's thought of the day is as follows. Tell me what happens. What happens? Tell me what creature you think exists and why. Tom, Dogman and Werewolves, plenty of proof. Snakes that bite penises is now my choice. And you guys thought when I talked about that little garter snake today, you're all like, oh, it's just a little garden snake. No. We saw what happened tonight. We saw what happened. Alex X, because artifacts were found by a professional anthropologist that subsequently conducted field work on the subject. Philip believes the Tasmanian tiger is still out there. I still do as well. Yes. David, definitely my old friend Nessie, the Loch Ness Monster. Alex, Mokile Mabembe. Why? Where'd that go? Because I've received firsthand sightings. Also, the sightings go back to early missionary times, have been consistent since that time with a consistent picture of morphology, behavior, diet, all in specific areas that make sense biologically, and we have prints that do not match any other animal in the region. Michael believes that the Jersey Devil is out there. Teresa's chasing down Mothman. Maybe she wants a date. I don't know. Nikki, Sasquatch, fairies, wood nymphs, the Fae. I've had first-hand experience with each. Skinwalkers and a few other cryptids because the spirit side informed me they are real. Alex again, Mongolian death worm, because of all the detail, where it lives, near what type of bushes, the food it eats, what time of year it comes out, all that points to a real animal. Gabe believes in Sasquatch because everybody has a relative that has seen him at least once. I'm surprised Gabe is posting this, to be honest. He literally wolfed down half a bottle of Bumblefoot's hottest hot sauce, and he put it on Facebook and on YouTube. I'm surprised he's alive right now. Melinda Leslie believes in Sasquatch. Dave Altman, Bat Squatch. Why? I want to believe. Susan, Sasquatch. Kira, Sasquatch and fairies exist because I have experiences with both. Other witnesses were with me on multiple sightings and experiences. Well, isn't that nice? Marty, he's one of our veterans that we love around here. I think the majority of cryptids exist, most notably Bigfoot, Dogman, the Kraken, because there have been so many eyewitness accounts of these creatures dating back centuries. John, since they all start out as orbs and just take what's in your head and show you whatever form they feel they need, so you can finally get the bloody lesson into your thick skull. Anything and everything has been and always will be seen. And personally, I find this a wee bit sad. Oh, isn't that nice? Cherry, I think there's a few cryptos that could shift into humans in appearance, so we're pretty much SOL. Jules, Sasquatch, seen one. They probably all do. And finally, we go with Let's Go Islanders. Who actually cheers for the New York Islanders? Does anybody really like that hockey team? Goes, you've seen one for real? I suspect they are some creepy creatures lurking in the depths. Yeah, it's called Nassau Coliseum, my friend. Thank you to everybody participating in the Thought of the Day on Facebook and Twitter. We'll do it all again tomorrow. Thank you to Captain Shirk for the penis stories on the SOR Newswire. And to Varla Ventura for coming on in and hanging on out. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, in your cars, at work, wherever you may be. Thank you to everybody in our chat rooms, YouTube, LGAB, Spreaker, Revolution Radio, Facebook, our Space Travelers Club, and our website, and all the snarkers and snarkettes hanging out on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. The Woo train has docked for the night. But tomorrow, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night. Hell yeah, Roy. Hell yeah, brother. Oh, yeah. That's some good ass kicking there, Roy. Roy, I've officially nominated you as the Spaced Out Radio official ass kicker. How about that? Can we do that? Can we give you that title? I think that's a good title. Oh. Captain Shirk sends me a text message. Always check the toilet first. LOL, 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 LOL. Night, Commander. I was not prepared for that. So was not prepared for that penis story. I was not prepared at all. Like, she gives me no warning. She gives me just no warning whatsoever. Oh, there, we're back. Yeah. We're back. Yeah. She just hit me out of the blue with that one. I couldn't even read that with a straight face. Like, Shirky Poo, what the hell are you trying to do to me? You know? It's dangerous. Person could have a heart attack over a story like that. Seriously. All right. I'll be right back. You guys chat away, all 95 of you. All right. Let's do this thing called editing. Oh, wow. Show's still not done here. Let's stop. Hope not. Did it stop? That didn't work. Cancel. Let's try this again. Let's download this. Hopefully this time. Dude, he got bit on the dick. He was swinging around a python from his penis. It's horrible. Mere person. Dave, why do you think everybody is so easily swayed by the spooks over everyone else who spent decades digging deep into this? 2 reasons. Number 1, we want answers, and videos and eyewitness testimony is no longer considered kosher. CGI, number 2, has ruined a lot of the videos that people are capturing. Number 3, the people who were investigating really proved nothing. So what they're hoping is for these spooks, who I don't know if they're believable or not, who are apparently now having the public's best interest in the next, as Luis Elizondo says, the last time a story of this magnitude was written, it was put in scripture, into the gospel. All right. So that's the answer there. RPG, send that guy's name to Corinth, the booking guy, and we'll be able to try and get him on there. All right. No, that's never going to happen. Never going to happen. Much love, my friend. Now we can edit. We can finally edit. Thank you, Nikki. Yeah, my hair is looking bad tonight, man. It is looking bad. Stu Gerson, everybody. Stu Gerson. Excuse me. Make sure you start getting that verification codes ready, people. Aaron Rogerson, what's the codes for? Nothing. Nothing. The code is for the verification. Excuse me. The verification code is something that I have to put into WeTransfer in order to transfer tonight's show over to a couple of our radio stations for broadcast. Oh, this is taking forever. Switch them over. All right. Here we go. All right. Your verification code is 331377. 331377. Use it wisely because you need to be verified. Still can't imagine what it would be like to get your dick bit by a snake coming out of the toilet. Oh my gosh. I'm just mortified over that. Mortified. Horrible. I'm hungry. That one's done. This one's almost done. Dave is tired. Dave went and got firewood today. Dave is tired. That's okay. Dave could sleep. But I feel good. It's a good tired today. All right. Downloading is done. I'm going to be calling it a night here, if you don't mind. Thank you to everybody who tuned us in. Tomorrow night, we have Nathan Rudd and Rich Germeau. We're talking Bigfoot all night long. We're going to get into some serious Bigfoot stuff tomorrow. And I'm looking forward to it. I hope you guys are too. Remember, a great way to support what we do on this show right now is give us a subscribe. Hit that thumbs up. Maybe that bell that I think tells you when we're going to be live again, if you have it already. Also, if you don't mind, what we'd really appreciate is if you go to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and grab yourself some swag. All right. And t-shirts, hoodies, you name it, we got it there, along with joining our Space Travelers Club for $5 a month. If you have any booking questions, hit up Corrins, the booking guy, at bookings@spacedoutradio.net. If there's somebody you want to hear on the air,